So President Biden has recently signed a bill that could mean millions of dollars in additional stimulus, actually billions of dollars in additional stimulus. And yeah, it could happen. Now, this doesn't mean there's any new funding, but did you know that there is still billions and billions of dollars in unspent pandemic funds? Most people don't realize this money is still out there, but you need to understand this is there because it could actually be coming to you in the near future. Now, I'm going to get to that in just a moment, but first, all I ask is if you could and you enjoy these daily uploads, do me a favor, go ahead and hit that like button. But let's get right down to it. So what has happened recently? Well, what we know has happened is that President Biden signed a bill within the past week, which is allowing Congress or the Treasury to claw back unspent pandemic funding. It's because of this, because of the asks from Republicans, because of the negotiation strategy between Speaker Kevin McCarthy and President Biden, that this is now a possibility, which also means there's a chance we can see additional stimulus in the near future. And I will address what kind of stimulus is going to be in just a second. The best part about all of this, though, is the amount that was agreed upon to be clawed back is not even close to the amount that we actually have available, which means this is opening up a whole new set of doors because now both Democrats and Republicans can go after this funding to use it for their own agenda. Just think about it. Think about what could be. Now, here's what we do know. According to reports out this past week, Democrats agreed to this by design. Republicans originally asked for about $100 billion to be pulled back from the untouched accounts. These are accounts that we have not used any of the money for, or there's still tens of billions of dollars sitting in an account because there's no use for it, or the money wasn't spent on time. Think about that for a second. The money had to be spent by a certain date for a specific purpose. It wasn't spent by that date, or that purpose is now something that we do not even need to talk about because guess what? The pandemic's over. Okay? So, Republicans originally asked for $100 billion to be pulled back. Democrats responded with, how about $0? And ultimately they settled on tens of billions of dollars to be clawed back. Now, here's where things get very interesting. It is because of the troubled negotiations. It is because of the intense talks that are going to be had that soon lawmakers are going to have to find a way to come to an agreement on the government spending for fiscal year 2024, which has to be done by October 1st, or else the government would get shut down. And on top of that, the second thing, probably again, just as important, but lawmakers have to find a way to satisfy their constituents. I can tell you right now, Democrats who voted to pass the debt ceiling bill, even though there were cuts to SNAP benefits, and they were Republicans were able to include in there the pipeline issue or the reform bill, permitting bill, and also the clawing back unspent funds. This is something that Democrats and many constituents in those states didn't like. Guess what? This is now their time to try to work it over, to kind of smooth things out and fix that relationship with those constituents. Well, here's what we know. This is where many are now arguing that there are ways that they could possibly claw back about $100 billion in unspent funds. Guess what they could be used for? Well, one of the things that they are still discussing is the child tax credit payments, or just child tax credit increase. Because keep this in mind. What if we didn't send out a $250 or $300 monthly payment to parents, or obviously somebody with a child between the ages of 0 and 17? But what if we didn't send that money out every single month? What if instead we just increase the child tax credit to, instead of $2,000, we increase it to, $3,000 or $3,600? Is that possible? Yes, it is. But how do we just increase the tax credit? Well, if we have $100 billion that we just clawed back, we could use some of that money there. So that's what some people are talking about. Another one is guaranteed income payments to lower income households or to those that are experiencing less work, right? Less income, unemployment. That's another possibility as well. This is something that I've heard over and over again, especially after we started hearing more talks about AI, about artificial intelligence taking our jobs. We've seen this with Amazon, where Amazon uses these little robots that go pick up full shelves and move pallets, or what, I don't know what they exactly call them, but it's a big shelf, center shelf thing, moves them all around, and so people, pickers, can go and pick items from it to make the whole process of shipping and packaging much simpler. Well, this takes away jobs, and as artificial intelligence takes away more of our jobs, according to multiple reports and according to many experts, they say additional funding, or what they call guaranteed income, is something that will be highly considered. Another one, additional funding for Social Security recipients. I don't know, and again, I bring this up because this is always part of the discussions. Social Security and SNAP are two programs that are always part of any additional, any discussion over funding or revenue. Well, if we have an additional $10 billion, let's give it to Social Security, because Social Security desperately needs it. And I don't think any of us can deny that. The one thing that we can argue, though, is trying to pass anything for Social Security becomes very difficult, because how do Republicans vote on something if it means increasing taxes? How do Democrats vote on something if it means reducing expenses, which likely means reducing benefits? You see how this creates a little bit of an issue. So yes, this is part of the discussions. According to this report, is there is a chance we see some additional funding for Social Security. However, it's probably not going all to Social Security recipients. It'd probably go to a select group. So just keep that in mind. Another one is the extension of the supplemental allotment for SNAP beneficiaries. This is that $95 per month boost that we were obviously many people were just welcomed with, that this was a very good program. It helped millions of households get the nutrition that they needed for them and their family for many months. But when this expired in the beginning of 2023, it put a lot of families into a very difficult situation, because now they didn't have the money that they needed to afford the food that they required in order to just live and obviously stay fed. Another one, and this is an interesting one. According to this report, some are saying that it would be good to take this $100 billion in unspent funding and save it, not spend it, save it, because there's a chance we may need this for things like enhanced unemployment benefits in the event that the economy does not have a soft landing and we dip into a recession. If we dip into a recession, if housing comes crashing down, if the stock market takes a hit, which it likely would if we dip into a recession, if the Fed cannot control inflation in a better manner and bring it down, and we need to somewhat stimulate the economy in certain areas, one of the first areas that these experts are saying we should stimulate is employment, and give people enhanced unemployment benefits until they can get back to work. Now, I don't know if that's the best use of the money, but it's part of the discussions. Now, we know this is going to happen. We know we are going to get more and more discussions on additional stimulus for millions and millions of Americans. The truth is that a stimulus check going out to every single person here in the United States is highly unlikely. Honestly, I would give it less than a 0.2% chance. But seeing additional stimulus through maybe additional student loan payments or student loans get forgiven. Maybe credit card debt gets forgiven. Maybe there's some additional stimulus through mortgages, right? This is stuff that could happen. And so what people are talking about now is that the bill has already been signed, that yes, Congress and the Treasury can go and claw back tens of billions of dollars, but there's still a possibility there's over $200 billion out there that has yet to be spent. And this could be what Congress is coming after next. So, just wanted to fill you in on what's going on at this time because, again, this is major news.